Well, we are finishing up our theme this month of the path to enlightenment. Today's topic I chose as the secret of power. I think I've shared with you before how I come up with these topics is fairly random at times. I don't really have a major focus on how exactly I do it. It just, however the inspiration is that comes to me, that's what I go with. And so as I was coming up for the topic for today, my eyes glanced at a book on the shelf, and I pulled it down and thumbed through it. And I actually remember this book, hard-covered book, that had actually been my grandmother's book. And it was interesting because my grandmother passed in 1956 when I was 6. But after she passed, some of her items came to our home, and in our garage for years there was this little bookcase, and it had glass doors on it, I can remember, and there were several books in there, and this one blue book was in there. And about the time I turned about 20 or so, I started going to the Unity Church. And this book caught my eye at that point, and it said, The Law of the Higher Potential. It's written by Robert Collier in 1947. And I don't really remember too many other Robert Collier books in my experience. But this one, obviously he was into New Thought. He quotes the Fillmores and Emmett Fox and all of that type of thing. And I had no idea that my grandmother would have been interested in this at all, because what I knew of my grandmother was that she was way Catholic. But this is such a universal message for so many people that it rings true. And so the secret of power is one of the chapters in this book. And I think that it fits very nicely with our theme for the month, which is the path to enlightenment. If we look up the definition, one of the definitions of enlightenment, it says, finding the divine within you. Finding the divine within you. That's all enlightenment it is. It seems pretty simple, doesn't it? Well, that should be pretty easy to do. It's nowhere else. It's just right within us, and all we need to do is find it. But what does it take? It takes remembering to remember, to remember, to remember. That we know, that we know, that we know, that we know. What is it that we're remembering, and what is it that we're knowing? That divine is within me, it is in with you, it is in all, everywhere present. The divine is nowhere that we cannot be, that it is not present anywhere. It's everywhere, everywhere present. When we come from that place of knowing the divine is right here, there is no room for less than. There is no room for I'm not enough. There is no room for criticism, for judgment. There's no room for it. It has no place. There is no territory for that in the divine. I wanted to read to you what Collier said on page 317. He says, you don't need to stumble and grope. You can call upon the creative force at will. There are 3 steps necessary. First, to realize that you have the power. Second, to know what you want. Third, to center your thought upon it with single-mindedness of purpose. To accomplish these steps takes only a fuller understanding of the power that is within you. So let us make use of this dynamo, which is you. What is going to start it working? Your faith. And faith is that begotten of understanding. Faith is the impulsion of this power within. Faith is the confidence, the assurance, the enforcing truth that knowing that the right idea of life will bring you into the reality of existence and the manifestation of the all, capitalized power. All cause is in mind, and mind is everywhere. And the knowledge there is, all the power there is all about you, no matter where you may be. Your mind is part of it. You have access to it. If you fail to avail yourself of it, you have no one to blame but yourself. For as the drop of water in the ocean shares in all the properties of the rest of the ocean water, so you share in that all power, all wisdom of mind. If you have been sick and ailing, if poverty and hardship have been your lot, don't blame it on fate. Blame yourself. Yours is the earth and everything it's in it. But you've got to take it. The creative force is there, but you must use it. It is round about you like the air you breathe. You don't expect others to do your breathing for you. Neither can you expect them to use the creative force for you. Universal intelligence is not only the mind of the creator of the universe, but it is also the mind of man, your intelligence, your mind. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. So start today by knowing that you can do anything you wish to do, have anything you wish to have, be anything you wish to be. The rest will follow. Ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. He kind of gets right in your face about it, doesn't he? He's not pussyfooting around there. He talks about having faith, having that ability to know that you know. To know that this power is working in and through us, for us. It plays at a higher game than what I think most of us play at day in and day out. We get so caught up in our daily activities and our schedules and in what I'm supposed to do and what I'm going to do, or we get caught up in, oh gosh, I wish I would have, whatever. And that's why I think it's so important for us to remember to go into that stillness, to go into that area where the divine potential is residing, and get familiar with it. Ask it, what is up for us this day? Let my finite mind know more than it knows right at this moment. You know, sometimes in life, birth is messy. If something looks like it's chaos, it's only because we have too close a perspective on it. Whatever is going on in our life right now, if it's a problem, if it's an issue, I love what I shared with you last Sunday, what Reverend Allie Benjamin said when she discovered her son's lifeless body. She said, what if this happened for me? What if this happened for me? Look at whatever the situation is that's going on in your life and ask, what if this is happening for me? I have a perpetual calendar at work that I flip over. I've done it several years now, and it's all on the Tao. And one of them this last week was, the sage always confronts difficulties. He never experiences them. We all have difficulties in our lives that we can confront. We don't necessarily have to experience them. And how do we do that? By remembering to remember that there is a power within us that we are in and of, that is handling all of this, that is bringing to us exactly what we need, and we have the power and the energy and the knowledge and the wherewithal to meet it, reach it, and go beyond it. There's a story of a little girl who was lost in the woods, and people were looking for her for several days, and hope was almost beginning to wane when a man found her sitting under a tree. And he said, "Weren't you afraid?" And she said, "No, I wasn't afraid because I know God is here." And he said, "How do you know that?" And she replied, "Because I am here." Now that little girl got it. Wouldn't that be lovely if all of us could have that answer? To not go in fear, to not go in separation, to know that if I'm here, that's where God is. There is a deep knowing, a deep peace that comes from accepting that we are in and of God. The reason I brought this whole topic up this month is that I watched the DVD that Deepak Chopra was giving on the path to enlightenment. And I thought that it would be necessary, seeing how this is the last Sunday of the whole month, that maybe I could share with you some of the main points that he had in that DVD. And someday or another, we're going to be able to set up to watch it. I want to have a little gathering of everybody to watch it, because, he's just amazing in the way he can present it. But here are some of the main specifics that I wanted to share with you of his presentation. He said that soul is the source of thought. There's a space between the thoughts. It's still, it's silent. You all are familiar with that, right? You know what I'm talking about. There's that little gap that comes in between those thoughts. And it says, "Be still and know that I am God." It is our connection to our source. The consciousness of your soul, the space between the thoughts, is the fullness of everything. Space is potential. There are 5 things in the space between thoughts which are core consciousness or are our attributes of our soul. The first one is infinite potential possibilities. Infinite correlation. The universe is happening all at once. Infinite unpredictability, i.e. creativity. Infinite creativity and source of intention. That's what we find when we go into that gap. Connecting to our soul is learning to be aware of our still point. Soul consciousness is where you abide, and it is through it that we have meaningful actions. So then he tells us there are 6 levels to awakening. Well, the first level is sleeping. When we're sleeping, we're sleeping. And that's part of, our body needs that. We have this beautiful spirit that we are is housed in this finite being, and it needs to be replenished. It needs that time of rest and rejuvenation, to come back and do all the work that all these cells and atoms and all this stuff is doing all day long without our conscious awareness of it. So we need that sleep. The next level is dreaming. How many of you dream? Okay, yeah. I had my alarm clock set this morning for 5:30, and I thought, I think I can sleep a little longer. So I went back to sleep, and I started dreaming. and darn it, I had one of those elevator dreams. It was an interesting one. I always wonder, why do I have elevator dreams? There's something going on in my life that I feel that's a message for me, that I feel like I'm out of control or something. But we went up in the elevator, and it dawned on me, like way after I finished the dream, that I wanted to go on to the 6th floor of the hotel. But when I pushed the button, it went to the 7th floor. And I'm trying to get out of the elevator, and it was like this little tiny opening. It was like a zipper that I had to open and kind of crawl through. And Anne, you were with me. We got out of the elevator. And then I couldn't find my room. And it dawned on me that I was on the wrong floor. No wonder I couldn't find my room. I needed to go down a floor. I don't know what all that means. Tell me, God, would you? But when we dream, I think we do get signals and we do get communications of things. Just let me have an understanding heart and mind. I don't know. Okay, our third level is waking, when we're awake, conscious. The fourth level is when our soul wakes up. He calls that cosmic consciousness. I am not that body. I am the witness to that body doing. Much like what was in The Seat of the Soul from his take on Michael Singer, that to become the witness, to become removed, so to speak, and observe. In cosmic consciousness, we are in the world but not of it. We have a loss of fear of death because death happens to the body. I am connected to Source, and I am happy that everything is unpredictable. Breathe, gay. I'm happy. Everything's unpredictable. We experience grace, good luck, as we seem to be in the right place. We have freedom from fear. The ego no longer overshadows the soul, but we pay attention to the soul, witnessing awareness without judgment. That's cosmic consciousness. You start to experience the soul of other people and objects. Have you ever done that? Have you felt that connection to someone or something so much that you go right to their soul? You go right to the heart of what they are, and you have that compassion, you have that sympathy, that empathy to feel what they're feeling, to know what they're knowing. The fifth level is divine consciousness. Seeming miracles happen. All of the divine qualities of joy, love, peace are our experience. And then the sixth is unity consciousness. The environment is my universal body. So the more that we can acknowledge that we are universal, that we are infinite, and that all is like that. We're not singled out. We're not the only ones. We are all playing in this pool of divineness, this soup of divine being. And what's so fabulous about it is that each of us gets to do it in our own perfect, unique way that's just right for us. We don't have to worry about what other people are doing. We don't have to think about, is it going to be acceptable or not? If we go within to our gap, into our heart, and question, and expect, and have the faith that little girl had, then we know wherever we are, all is well. You know, there's a difference between faith and trust. There was a tightrope entertainer back in the 1800s. Blondie was his name. Does anybody remember knowing about him? No, remember. You wouldn't. Well, I shouldn't say remember. That's true. We're aware of him. He had a tightrope. He walked across Niagara Falls. And he did it more than once. He did it several times. And he did it one time with somebody on his back. Then he wanted to do it with a wheelbarrow. And he wanted somebody to get into the wheelbarrow. He had no volunteers. Now, everybody who watched him do this, all these people had seen him do it time and time again. They all had faith that he could get on that tightrope and that he could do it. They had faith in him. But did any of them trust themselves to go in that wheelbarrow? No. So think about the nuance. I have faith in lots of things, but do I really trust Do I really put my whole body and wherewithal in trusting the faith that I have will come through for me? This life of ours is infinite potential, with all of its unpredictabilities. Yay! We are creative beings. Let yourself go this day to create, to play in this oozing, beautiful energy of infinite love. Be. Just be. I love you all. Namaste.